Hi everyone. This is a question, one of the problem solving questions we have in our algebra chapter. So the situation is we have two different taps which are filling a tank. We don't know the volume of the tank. We don't know the flow rate of the taps. But we do know that if both of the taps are running together, it takes 6 hours to fill the tank. And if the tap number one was running by itself, it would be 5 hours quicker than if just tap number two were running by itself. So it's a little bit to untangle here, but the basic idea behind this is about the rate of flow. So the rate of flow from tap number, any tap, is the volume of water that comes out divided by the time that it takes. So for instance, the volume could be in litres and the time could be in hours. So we're talking about the flow rate in litres per hour. Anything where we divide by a quantity by time is typically known as a rate at which something is happening. Now we're going to write a few equations based on that formula for the situation. So let's start with the first clue. If both of the taps were running together, the flow rate would be F1 plus F2. So we would add them together. That seems logical. And we don't know the volume of the tank, but we do know the time taken would be 6 hours. So let's call that equation 1. We'll have to come back to that in a minute. Now let's start thinking about the taps individually by themselves. So we can have a bit of a go here. If tap number one was running by itself, the rate would be F1. That's the total volume of the tank divided by some unknown time. But it would be, now I'm just going to assume that tap number one is the big tap and tap number two is the small tap. So I'd have a similar sort of equation going on for tap number two. It would be the volume divided by the time. Now the time that tap number two takes to fill would be a larger amount of time. So this value t that I've put in here, because I'm assuming tap number two is the slow tap, it would be the longest amount of time. So if this one was 5 hours faster, it would be t minus 5. That seems logical, doesn't it? Faster tap, shorter amount of time to fill the same tank. Now I've got a lot of different unknowns here. I've got F1, I've got F2, I've got volume, and I've got time. It seems like there's too many unknowns to deal with, but let's have a quick look. I could replace F1 up in that equation, and I could replace F2 in the same equation. Let's see what happens when we combine it in that way there. So I'm going to write V over T subtract 5 instead of F1 plus V over T equals V over 6. No, let's see how we go. That's not too bad. We have different denominators here, so I would have to multiply by T times V over T times T take 5. Then I'd have to multiply by T take 5 times V over T take 5 times T, and that would still equal V over 6. Now let's write this with a common denominator. I would have T times V plus T take 5 times V, all divided by T over T take 5 equals V divided by 6. We're slowly getting somewhere. Let's see what we can do now. Well, I suppose we could cross multiply. I would have 6 times T times V plus 6 times T take 5 times V, and then I would have T times T take 5 times V. Now, it's annoying to me that I still have two unknowns. I've got T and I've got V. But I notice that there's a common factor of v in every one of the terms. What if I just decide to divide everything by v? Let's just all divide by v. I don't really care what the volume of the tank was. The question was all about what was the time taken for the pipes. So I don't mind dividing through by volume. If I divide everything by v, that's all still good. So now I've just got the unknown t. This should work out better. I have 6 times t there. Let's expand out. I'll have 6 times t minus 6 fives are 30, and that would be t squared. Take 5t. Now we're getting somewhere. It looks like there's a quadratic forming. Let's move everything to the right hand side. I'll just have 0 here. So 6 and 6 are 12. By the time I transpose and subtract, that'll be minus 17t, and then by the time I transpose, that's plus 30. That looks like a nice monic quadratic. I think we would have subtract 2 and subtract 15. Let's check. Minus 2 minus 15 adds to minus 17. They multiply to 30. That's the answer. So by the null factor law, t could equal 2 or t could equal 15. These are times in hours. Now let's double check those answers in the scenario we were given. Maybe they'll both be sensible, maybe not. So if t equaled 2, so that's 2 hours for the slow pipe, and then 2 subtract 5 would be negative time. That doesn't make sense. I'm going to reject this answer. It doesn't make sense. But the other one, 15, I think will work. If we had 15 hours for the slow pipe, slow tap, and then 10 hours, that makes sense. That's logical. So that's the answers. So the slow tap will take 15 hours to fill the tank, and the fast one would be 10 hours. There you go. Now, that's the end of the question. So hopefully that helped. The hardest part in these questions is starting them, changing from the words, the clues in the words, into maths. And I suppose this idea about flow rate, or any rate, is a quantity divided by time. And that was the key to unlocking this one. So thanks for watching. See you next time.